1. When designing a Revit training program for adult learners new to BIM, which principles should guide the curriculum structure? A. Begin with advanced 3D modeling before covering basic interface navigation. B. Connect Revit workflows to learners' existing CAD or drafting experiences. C. Focus exclusively on theoretical BIM concepts without hands-on practice. D. Require memorization of all keyboard shortcuts before any project work. 2. Which evaluation method is most effective for assessing a trainee's ability to create a coordinated construction document set in Revit? A. Written multiple choice test on Revit commands. B. Oral presentation about BIM theory. C. Project-based assessment requiring complete model documentation. D. Self-evaluation questionnaire only. 3. In Revit certification curriculum development, what is the primary purpose of analyzing industry job requirements? A. To eliminate hands-on modeling exercises. B. To align training content with actual workplace BIM deliverables and standards. C. To reduce the program cost by removing advanced topics. D. To focus only on basic sketching tools. 4. According to adult learning principles, trainees learn Revit most effectively when A. They can immediately apply new tools to solve real design problems. B. The training is entirely self-paced with no instructor interaction. C. All concepts are taught through lecture without computer access. D. They memorize the user interface before starting any projects. 5. Which communication technique is most effective when providing feedback on a trainee's Revit family creation? A. Vague comments like "this needs work." B. Specific observations about parameter behavior with suggestions for improvement. C. Only highlighting errors without explaining correct approaches. D. Waiting until the end of the course to provide any feedback. 6. What regulatory compliance consideration must Revit professionals typically understand? A. BIM models have no relationship to building codes. B. Understanding how to document code-compliant designs and coordinate with AHJs. C. Ignoring accessibility requirements in building designs. D. Avoiding all industry standards to save time. 7. When mentoring a new Revit user struggling with constraints, which approach is most effective? A. Completing the work for them without explanation. B. Using guided questions to help them understand constraint logic and troubleshoot. C. Telling them to figure it out independently without any support. D. Criticizing their approach without offering alternatives. 8. In a Revit certification test, which question type best assesses higher-order problem-solving skills? A. Identifying toolbar icons from images. B. Scenario requiring coordination of architectural, structural, and MEP disciplines. C. Recalling the exact menu location of a command. D. True-false questions about software version numbers. 9. What is the primary purpose of formative assessment during Revit training? A. To assign final certification grades only. To provide ongoing feedback that helps learners improve modeling techniques progressively. C. To rank students competitively against each other. D. To eliminate the need for any final project. 10. Which adult learning principle suggests Revit training should emphasize practical project workflows? A. Adults prefer abstract theory over practical application. B. Adults are motivated by tools they can immediately use in their work. C. Adults learn best through passive observation only. D. Adults should avoid collaborative learning environments. 11. When developing Revit certification curriculum, which element ensures industry relevance? A. Input from practicing architects, engineers, and BIM managers. B. Focusing only on outdated software versions. C. Eliminating all real-world project examples. D. Avoiding any discussion of industry standards. 12. What communication strategy works best when teaching Revit to diverse learners with varying technical backgrounds? A. Using complex jargon without defining terms. B. Presenting information only through lengthy text documents. C. Adapting explanations and using multiple demonstration methods for different learning styles. D. Assuming all learners have identical prior knowledge. 13. Which mentoring technique builds confidence in Revit learners? A. Comparing trainees negatively to expert users. B. Providing incremental challenges with positive reinforcement for progress. C. Overwhelming new users with advanced families immediately. D. Criticizing every modeling decision without acknowledging improvements. 14. In Revit certification testing, what is the purpose of using real-world project scenarios? A. To make tests unnecessarily difficult. B. To assess ability to apply Revit tools to actual design and documentation challenges. C. To test only memorization of menu commands. D. To avoid evaluating practical skills. 15. Which evaluation method provides comprehensive assessment of Revit competencies? A. Single multiple choice exam only. B. Portfolio including models, sheets, schedules, and rendered views with documentation. C. Attendance tracking alone. D. Peer voting on popularity. 16. What characterizes effective learning objectives in Revit curriculum design? A. Vague statements about understanding BIM. B. Measurable outcomes like create parametric families with nested components. C. Objectives focused on instructor demonstrations rather than student performance. D. Outcomes that cannot be assessed or demonstrated. 17. When teaching Revit's role in regulatory compliance, which practice is essential? A. Ignoring building codes in all training exercises. B. Demonstrating how to document code compliance and coordinate reviews using BIM. C. Suggesting students avoid learning about regulations. D. Teaching that BIM models exempt projects from code review. 18. Which principle recognizes that adult Revit learners bring valuable industry experience? A. Treat all learners as having no relevant knowledge. B. Leverage learners' construction and design experience as foundation for BIM concepts. C. Disregard any prior CAD or drafting experience. D. Avoid connecting Revit to real-world construction processes. 19. What is the advantage of scenario-based questions in Revit certification exams? A. They are easier to create than other question types. B. They assess practical application of tools in realistic design coordination situations. C. They require less time to complete. D. They eliminate the need for technical knowledge. 20. Which communication skill is critical when collaborating on Revit models in multidisciplinary teams? Using technical terminology without explanation. B. Clear communication about design intent, model organization, and coordination needs. C. Avoiding all verbal communication. D. Working in isolation without team coordination. 21. What is recommended for providing mentoring feedback during Revit training? A. Annual feedback only at course completion. B. Regular check-ins with specific guidance on modeling techniques and workflows. C. Waiting for trainees to fail before offering any help. D. Generic praise without constructive technical guidance. 22. When developing Revit assessment criteria, what ensures fairness and validity? A. Keeping evaluation criteria secret from trainees. B. Using clear rubrics aligned with learning objectives and industry standards. C. Changing standards for different test takers. D. Basing grades on subjective preferences rather than skills. 23. Which instructional strategy effectively teaches Revit's clash detection and coordination workflows? A. Lecture only about theoretical coordination concepts. B. Hands-on exercises linking architectural, structural, and MEP models with coordination review. C. Textbook reading without software interaction. D. Avoiding coordination topics entirely. 24. What is the purpose of continuing education for Revit certified professionals? A. To generate revenue for training providers only. B. To maintain current knowledge of software updates, new features, and evolving BIM standards. C. To punish professionals who achieved certification. D. To create unnecessary barriers to practice 25. In Revit mentoring, which behavior demonstrates active listening? A. Interrupting with solutions before understanding the issue. B. Paraphrasing the challenge and asking clarifying questions about the model problem. C. Multitasking while the mentee explains their workflow. D. Providing answers before hearing the complete question. 26. Which curriculum development model ensures Revit training stays current with software updates? A. Static curriculum never revised after creation. B. Cyclical model incorporating user feedback, software updates, and industry trends. C. Random approach without systematic planning. D. Model that ignores all software version changes. 27. What makes a distractor, incorrect answer, effective in Revit certification questions? A. Being obviously wrong to make questions easy. Representing common misconceptions or errors that novice users might make. C. Having no relationship to Revit functionality. D. Using nonsensical terminology. 28. Which area requires Revit users to understand regulatory implications? A. BIM models have no relationship to permits or approvals. B. Understanding how models support permit submissions and building official reviews. C. Revit certification exempts users from all regulations. D. Avoiding all documentation of code compliance. 29. How should Revit competency mastery be assessed most effectively? A. Single theory test at course beginning only. B. Multiple assessments including modeling exercises, documentation tasks, and coordination scenarios. C. Attendance verification alone. D. Self-declaration without demonstration. 30. Which approach is effective for delivering constructive feedback on Revit modeling techniques? A. Public criticism to motivate through embarrassment. B. Private specific feedback on modeling approach with alternative methods demonstrated. C. Generic comments without showing correct workflows. D. Written feedback only, avoiding face-to-face instruction.